A guy gets too drunk while playing golf and forgets what hole he's on. He can wipe that smile off his face. Good old 23. One's in the pink, the other in the stink. All of a sudden he is ahead. He is number 2. Should have asked the guy from last week. Love it. 3 holes are better than a hole in one. I thought it was my turn to post this joke this week. I'm old and I've never heard it and it was funny, so ignore the haters. Good to see you again. Don't come back soon. Joke so bad I wanna unfollow. I don't think a woman who sells menstrual supplies would be embarrassed or apologetic for her line of work. I find companies who sell menstrual products are usually quite loud and proud about supplying a healthcare necessity, and making the lives of menstruating folk better. Other than joke, but I'd change the bit about please don't laugh, and this is quite embarrassing. Boxer shorts is underwear for people who want to go commando, but don't like the concept of no underwear. I'm not saying you're wrong, but for me, it's about comfort. More room for my junk to dangle. Thinking of wearing a kilt? Know the point. You like your junk squished all day? Boxer briefs is the way to go. I'm the opposite. Boxers are the only thing that don't get bunched up for me. Just tuck the shorts into your pants legs when you pull all your pants up. They stay in place, perfectly comfortable. I want my junk to hang, but against fabric that's designed to be comfy, which outer garments aren't always. Snug-fitting boxers are the best of both worlds. Nah, it's a hygiene thing for me. I try to wear my pants shorts more than once before I wash it. It's more sanitary if you have some sort of barrier emo. Though at home it's more comfortable to lounge in boxer shorts emo. Couldn't be more wrong. Calling your wedding the happiest day of your life insinuates that it all goes downhill from there. I take that sort of thing as more of a best day so far type of deal rather than this is as good as it gets. The optimist in me would say that the qualifier up to this point or so far would be implied. It's kind of like how Apple always introduced their new iPhone as the best iPhone we've ever made. It's not exactly like they're saying the product is heading downhill after the new release. Although it might seem to be in some sense to some people. I mean, you can have the best day of your life but your life overall gets better afterwards. Maybe you never have another single day where you're that happy, but you could still be much happier with your life overall. I thought the same thing when people told me high school is the best part of life. Like, if you truly believe that, then what's the point of living afterwards? Shiva. The day I got divorced was a much better day. Our wedding was terrible, so I should be safe. Do people in electric cars listen to AC/DC? Probably a hybrid of both. They do if they're driving down the highway to hell. I was guessing electric blue while driving on Electric Avenue. That's a revolting thought. Depends on if they got the high voltage model. I was shocked by how much classic rock there was on my hometown station. Better not run over something that punctures the battery bank. The car will become. Usually they get thunderstruck down, as they should. If they bother doing that, maybe listen to ELO. It'd be shocking if they couldn't. Depends on how amped they're feeling. I think they're more earth, wind, and fire. It would take big balls. I need to get out of here. It's shocking how much I love these. I'm making them now. My baby's taking me by Sparks. The ones I know I'll listen to Midnight Oils, Diesels and Dust. I guess you couldn't resist telling the joke. Alternative music, only while parallel parking. How do you call a gender-neutral person who is lactose intolerant? Smiley face. I appreciate the effort. Got a strong eye roll out of me. Good lord, that's the most dad joke I ever heard. Congrats. Person with a cold who is lactose. Non-binary samurai killing enemies? They saw this a few days ago. Of all the jokes circulating from Yamad TV at the moment, you pick this one? Weak. Good old 837. A classic. The effort was there. The execution was meh. This post is like the diamond mining industry, pretty boring. Personally, this might come offensive, but I don't get them. I would call them with a phone. With your voice. On the phone. What do you call? How do you call them? With their name. Thanks dad. I've never been let down, you heart. If they are vegan too, then they are both non-binary and non-bi-hairy. I have had sex with an unnatural number of women. I had sex with an imaginary number of women. The number of real women I've had sex with is complex. I guess 0 is better left unsaid. The number of women I had sex with is irrational. I can't count how much bi I've had. The dating market is like prime numbers. It takes longer and longer to find the next correct one for each you pass by. The limit does not exist. 0 is an unnatural number. I've multiplied with 4 women, added 6 kids, 8 extra responsibilities that subtract tens of thousands a year, had to divide 12 of my prized possessions, first 3 kids 14, another 16, oldest 18, last 3 are 3, 9 and S when it got odd. Drum, 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 drum. Looks around, nobody, fuck it, I tried. So, you have had sex with a fractional number of women? Or a negative number? Or maybe too complex to explain. It is estimated that 60 billion men have ever lived on Earth, yet the large majority never got to see a woman in yoga pants. With the disappointing quality of the content on this sub recently, this one is a true gem. But you never got to see your broad-shouldered, square-jawed wife hoist up a plow and prep 3 fields like it was nothing before giving birth for the second time that year and then making your dinner entirely out of things you guys grew or killed together. We all miss out on something. The absolute state of this quite a thought-provoking statistic. It speaks to the diversity of human existence and how individual experiences have been shaped by the times they lived in. Man after internet age has seen more pretty naked women than 99.999 of all the men ever lived. Greatest invention of all. Well, simple people have shower thoughts too. This is the best shower thought I have ever seen, and by God I feel bad for those who have not seen. Op got horny under shower. People with names like Brillin, Kennedy, and McNally, how's your life going? Horribly. Yeah, I changed my name to something much simpler. My buddy got named Bradley, yes, 2 D's, and just changed it to Bradley in his late 20s because he was sick of looking at it every day. You better answer me right now, Jake Wellen. My kid had a girl in his class named Easier. I had to hear someone say it out loud to realize it's pronounced Desire. Probably wearing Cookie Monster pajamas somewhere. Should prompt post this in Utah. Michaela Jaden Allison Ray Lynn Kinsley Brayley Bryson, you get your butt over here this instant. They're at supper time RN with me, Ma and PP. My daughters have a half-sister named Blakely. Makes me cringe every time I see it in print. Did we ever determine who, exactly, shot Kennedy? I feel like most of them aren't old enough to answer this question beyond Reddit yet. Seeing someone reading a book you love is seeing a book recommending a person. Finally, a real shower thought. Oh, this is a good one. A very interesting take for sure. Makes sense. Makes so much sense. Don't judge a person by their cover. I don't care what anybody says. I like this shower thought. Shitty people can still be reading a book you like though? Fuck. I like Ender's Game. Shitty people could be writing a book you like, except if they hate the stupid fucking book they are reading. I love this. So basically everyone here is recommended to me now. Unless that person hates this book. This sounds like a premise of a warm and fuzzy story. Till the U.S. Army once gave a very passionate disagulation to cyclists who tried to make leisure bicycling in the Arlington National Cemetery legal. Partially due to cyclists refuse to yield to funeral processions. It's illegal in all national cemeteries to engage in recreational activities like bike riding. The U.S. Army once gave a very passionate for those of us that speak English. I love cycling. But who DF doesn't yield for a funeral procession? On your left, your left, your left, right, left. Of course cyclists refuse to yield to funeral processions. Some cyclists think they own the whole damn road no matter what. Dwight Schrute served in the U.S. Army. Cyclists are the most entitled psychopaths on American roads. Classic cyclist Samirite. Till a missing pet tortoise was found in the attic 30 years later, alive and well. Is no one else wondering how a damn tortoise got into the attic to begin with? I don't know if I believe an attic with enough termite larvae in it at tortoise height to keep a tortoise alive for 30 years would have remained standing for that long. Well, took you guys long enough. I'm calling bullshit on this one. How did they not smell it? My mom has a tortoise and she is a clean person. Still smells like a goddamn zoo. Press X to doubt. As someone who lost their pet tortoise 22 years ago, this gives me great hope. There I am, brain the size of a planet. Till Hugh Hefner paid $75,000 for the burial spot next to Marilyn Monroe, stating spending eternity next to Marilyn is too sweet to pass up. Poor woman could never get away from the users. Even if you disregard all his notoriously creepy fucked up behavior outside of this is still a really fucking creepy thing to do unless they're your spouse. In a similar tone, Joe DiMaggio originally owned the spot above Monroe, but when the two divorced he sold the spot to Richard Poncher, an entrepreneur. His wife later told press that Richard wanted to be buried face down. Remember when people thought this pos was cool? Till Japan recounted its islands and found 7,000 it didn't know it had. There are now officially 14,125 islands in Japanese territory. Hey, we missed half of them the first time, no worries. Newly discovered islands are mostly uninhabited and have little or no economic value. That's like 14 salads. This is me when I find cash in old purses. My guess is that Japan is literally on the ring of fire. The many underwater volcanoes, which attribute to almost more than 2/3 of world's volcano eruptions, will cause land masses to spawn. Now, I don't know how they categorize islands, but 14K sounds like they deliberately went wild for the 12 nautical miles of territorial water advantage. How many soldiers who didn't know the war had ended did they find? Still that 4 young people drowned in a narrow passage in an underground cave in Provo, Utah 2005. They think one person tried to turn around and the others were unable to pass her. They knew the cave was unsafe. One of the 4 had previously been to the cave before and had become hypothermic and passed out the first time. She's the one who showed them where it was and convinced them it was manageable. Going completely underwater in a dark cave is like the last possible thing you could ever convince me to do. There's a horrifying video about this on the channel Fatal Breakdown. The 4 teens were hanging out in an air pocket beforehand with diminishing O2, so it's probable she couldn't hold her breath for as long as when they came in from the outside. The exit hole was also very small and very easy to miss underwater. Once she went, it was impossible for the other 3 to pass her body, and they all died one by one trying to leave. Till that the last person verified to have been born in the 1800s died in 2017. I remember when I was a kid, old people were the ones that were born in the 1800s. Imagine all the firsts that she saw in her lifetime. Morano lived through 3 centuries and witnessed significant changes in the world, including the rise of 2 world wars, the invention of television, and the development of the internet. She attributed her longevity to a simple diet of 3 eggs a day, 2 of them raw, and a healthy lifestyle. The scope of her lifetime is absurd. She was married for 52 years to a man who died in 1978, 45 years ago. She's only been gone for 6.5 years. My family friend remembers seeing a Union veteran of the Civil War being honored on Memorial Day when he was a kid. That is wild. My daughter was born in the mid-1990s. I'm rooting for her to live across 3 centuries. Till when breastfeeding, the mammary glands will detect pathogens in the baby's saliva and create the needed antibodies for it in the milk. I'm pretty sure they can even mitigate against different pathogens for different kids if the woman is breastfeeding more than one simultaneously. Boobs really are magic. Is there anything that boobs can't do? The mom's immune system is just doing its normal job. It detects a pathogen, and it makes antibodies. It's trying to protect her, which also helps the baby because the antibodies are in the milk. The first drink of colostrum is one of the most important things a baby mama can do. Does it create them instantaneously for the breastfeeding session, or does it get them ready for the next breastfeeding session? Wow, I didn't know boobs were so smart. I'm not surprised, but I didn't actually know that. Again, moms are amazing. Edited out the unnecessary possessive apostrophe. Thanks for the memories. Moms are awesome. We're closer to 2100 than World War II. 2100. 2023 77 years. 2023, 1945. Now that I did the math, it checks out. The movie Jurassic Park is closer to the moon landing than it is to today. Yeah, that's not that weird to think. My grandfather was 18 at the onset and would be like 102 now. World War II was a long-ass time ago. The 80s weren't 20 years ago. We're closer to 2100 than we are to the birth of Joe Biden. Technically, we are closer to the invention of time travel than any event in the past because it is impossible to go back in time. Until time travel is invented, we're closer to now than we were yesterday. It's crazy that World War II was in 1944 and 1999 was only in 1999. We will always be closer to the future. The past is 14. What movie are you convinced people only pretend to enjoy? The 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. The Purge. I love the concept, but the movie was unbelievably boring given how cool it could have been. I don't think anyone enjoys Schindler's List, but it's a good film to watch. The English Patient. I've watched it 3 times to try to see what others see in it. The pace is so slow. The main characters are dull. I don't get it. I once was hanging out with a friend and he brought along someone new. I didn't really jive with this new person, but my friend brought up that after I left this new person claimed I seemed like I'd really be into the Saw. This day I found this to be one of the most insulting things someone has said about me. 90 of Christmas movies. Most porn. Oh, you mean The Viewers? The Great Gatsby. I know it's an American, I don't get it. It's really just the OK Gatsby. What was cool in 2013 but not anymore in 2023? Keep comment on. That shit was everywhere in 2013. Haven't seen anything similar in the last 5-6 years, I bet. Harlem Shake. GTA 5 being the latest GTA vibe. Hipsters were big in 2013. Man buns. Mustaches, tattoos. Liking things ironically, and before they were cool. Thick-rimmed black glasses with no lenses. The Chive. Did anybody remember when owls were super trendy in 2013? Like owl jewelry, stomp and holler music, and most things associated with the hipster, the built-in Instagram filters. Skinny jeans. I'm a millennial so I still wear them, though. Game of Thrones on HBO. Kevin Spacey House of Cards S1 was released in 2013. Facebook 100. Gangnam Style. Thigh Gap. Macklemore. What was once commonplace 20-30 years ago has now evolved into a luxury. Furniture made from real wood. Concert tickets. Back in the 80s you could go to a concert every week if you wanted. I saw so many great bands for $25 bucks a pop. Low-grade cuts of wings. Brisket. Flag. Having ownership of the software you bought. Concert tickets. A house. Pensions. Actually owning now is subscription based or packed full of ads. Film cameras. I work at a camera store and we have more people than ever coming in looking for film cameras. Even used ones. If you have an old film camera, check the price online, you'll be amazed what some of these are going for. Going to the pub regularly. The prices are ridiculous now. What would earning the equivalent of $70,000 a year mean to you? In today's exchange rate, that is 345k Brazilian reais. Divided by 12, it's 28k monthly. I live with roughly 10k monthly and I live a very comfortable life. Earning almost 3x that and I'll feel like a king. I make that in the US. Up until 2019, 2020 it was considered a great wage, especially in the area I live. My job was also considered a good job. Since then, with inflation out of control and the housing market in the shitter, it's almost barely enough to support a family and have any sort of life other than work and sleep. I know I'm fortunate compared to some, but man, I've worked so hard for 20 years to get to where I am and it feels like they keep moving the goalpost. I make just under that and yeah boy still struggles. Pay reduction and inability to cover monthly basic expenses. What's something weird a guest did in your home and you didn't know how to react? Friend of mine had his buddy house sit for his family and the buddy set up all the Christmas decorations in summer. Ash their cigarette on the floor, then get really mad when we asked them not to do it again. Walked into the kitchen, turned the tap on, farted very loudly, turned the tap off and walked back out like we didn't see or hear him let rip. There was this guy my husband and I had met once before. We invited him over to watch a movie with us. We were new to the city, trying to make friends. He said he'd bring pizza. He brought a half-eaten pizza. He asked to use our laptop, was on FB the whole time and proceeded to fall asleep in our living room recliner during the movie. It was an odd encounter. My college friend came down to my dorm room sobbing because she couldn't stop sucking dick and then proceeded to eat my roommate's mac and cheese out of a pot while crying between spoonfuls. I was speechless. While on vacation in Mexico, a guy went to see the bullfights. I always heard the punchline is "Señor, sometimes the bull, he wins." In my part of the country, they are called Rocky Mountain oysters on the menu. As soon as I saw the headline, I knew it was this joke. I remember it as a kid growing up in the 70s. The ending should have been, "Señor, it's not the bull that loses always." Wouldn't they be larger? Thoughtful face. 1000 recycle rate has been achieved. You have now reached level 9000.